What's up, guys? The Faruqi Bros here, back with another podcast. And today, for you guys, we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff, a bunch of movies that we haven't gotten a chance to fully review over the last couple of weeks, and talk about the newest superhero movie that's coming out next year with Spider-Man: Brand New Day. So let's just get right into it. I want to talk about Spider-Man since we've been on a bit of a roll with our superhero coverage, and you guys have been responding well to it. So let's start with it right away. So Spider-Man: Brand New Day. So this is the new movie with Tom Holland, the next installment of the Spider-Man franchise within the MCU. And there's a lot of positive coverage happening for Spider-Man between the fan base, between people. Basically, if you guys don't know, the movie Brand New Day is currently shooting in Glasgow, Scotland. They basically took a lot of time turning that city into New York. That city's also been the home for the Batman shot there and a couple other movies as well. So now we have Spider-Man shooting there. And what's been really cool about this is that and honestly, huge kudos to Sony for really leaning into this marketing. They have been shooting everything practical, putting it out there on the streets in broad daylight. So the crowd of people that are forming around these shooting days is absolutely crazy. And you'll have images like this, which went absolutely viral a couple of days ago, where everyone is just like in awe of Spider-Man being shot, to the point where if you see reactions of kids and people watching it, for them, this is not a movie. They're like, this is Spider-Man walking around, actually Spider-Man. So that shows like how many people are getting inspired by like this character, and how Spider-Man still is probably maybe the most famous superhero right now. But long story short, what I want to talk about from our lens, from the cinema debate lens, is the direction this movie is taking. So obviously we have a brand new director at the helm. We have a really different vision. Suit's different, everything's different. So, and Tom Holland seems very excited about taking on Spider-Man with this vision. So let's get right into it. Let's see what we think about it. Zian, I'll start with you. You've been seeing the set photos, you've been seeing some of the interviews, you've been seeing kind of what Tom Holland's been saying. What do you think? Do you feel excited for Brand New Day?
I'm definitely excited for Brand New Day. I was like number one hype after seeing how No Way Home ended. You kind of have Peter Parker, Spider-Man, like a reset mode almost, where all of the problems I had with him being too public of a hero with the Avengers and everybody knows his identity, and he was like so open, that's kind of all been resolved. And now it's like you have almost a brand new slate with this character. Now you can kind of take him anywhere. They can kind of do some of the more Spider-Man pure stories without it being bogged down by other heroes or Avengers or other big, world level stuff. It's like, it's street level Spider-Man again, and that's what you love to see kind of going towards. And I think just the fact that they're doing these type of shootings on the street and out in the public is a very good sign, because we know from Marvel in the past where it's like they will just green screen and CGI anything, from like Nick Fury sitting in a hotel room. They couldn't even rent a room. They had to green screen the whole room. It's like things of that. It's like you just wonder how bad the situation is there. And it's like now you see him actually on the street. Like you said, the hype also builds up. We saw that a little bit from Superman as well. It's like that feeling that the heroes are like right there among us in person. That adds like definitely a huge level of hype to the movie. So that with kind of the story direction they're taking in. I know they mentioned that Hulk might be in it and Punisher might be in it. So obviously they can't distance themselves too much from kind of what they're known for, just putting characters in there. But I do feel like there is a good place to take Spider-Man now. That he's like at the bottom. He has nobody. He has no money. He's trying to work himself up. That's Spider-Man we love to see. That's Spider-Man that everybody relates to, that kind of has to pull himself up by his bootstraps and has nobody else. I think the fact that he's there now makes me very excited for what's to come.
Yeah, obviously, we think about the new director, because John Watts, some people like him, some people don't. I think he was pretty below average in his trilogy. For a lot of things we're seeing right now, like from a filmmaking perspective, he's just a weaker filmmaker than a Sam Raimi or even Mark Webb, who directed the Amazing Trilogy. Whereas like there was a strong lack of filmmaking principles at play, even for movies we like No Way Home. When you look back at it, it looks like such a TV special. Like there's something cinematic about it. So what I'm hoping for is that with Daniel Destin Cretton on this taking over, he will kind of bring Spider-Man back to practical. And I think it starts with the suit. So like this is image of the suit that, from the webbing to the eyes to the symbol. I mean, this screams Spider-Man to me. Whereas like, if you remember, I'll bring up Infinity War or Endgame, his suit was just like this nanotech, messy, looks like vomit on screen. Like I did not like the Iron Spider suit, especially such a downgrade from the comics version as well. So like everything about MCU Spider-Man, it's like you really have to go the extra mile to be like, oh, I see what they're going for. But finally, now we're at a point where we're getting a very traditional Spider-Man movie. That makes me personally very excited. Even if you put MCU stuff in it, it's no big deal. And with the director, he directed Shang-Chi right before this movie came out. And actually, if you guys know, he was Avengers King Dynasty's director before that movie got canceled. So he was going to direct the next Avengers movie. They had a lot of trust in him to give him an Avengers movie. That movie canceled. Obviously, we all know what happened. The Russo brothers got brought in. No more King Dynasty. We're getting Avengers Doomsday next year. But instead, he now got Spider-Man, which is a huge job. But if anything, it's maybe even bigger than Avengers in some ways, like kind of trying to take Spider-Man to the next level. So I'm actually very excited. I'm feeling optimistic about this movie. But the question is Samir optimistic? Because he is a resident Spider-Man fan. So, Samir, I want you to tackle it two different ways because you're the artist also of the group. I want you to think about the suit. Like, start with the suit. What do you think about the suit, and then what do you think about the movie and the set photos you so far?
The suit I like. I think it might be the best suit at the end of the day. I mean, it's close with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit. I feel like maybe in some ways it could be better, but we have to see it in the movie, of course. And as far as the movie goes, I like that they're doing the practical swinging. Like I'm glad that quote that John wrote, that John Watts. I'm glad that quote went viral where he's like, the practical swinging doesn't look that good because that needed to end. And I think the problem with John Watts is that he didn't really add any unique style to it. I think the movies were kind of really just sauceless. That's why they were as mid as they were. And I think seeing Shang-Chi shows that this director could do something unique with all the action scenes and the swinging scenes. So I'm pretty excited for it. I'm glad it's pretty down to earth. I don't want it to go too crazy, too multiverse right now. I think they need like a neighborhood, a low level movie.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a New York level movie as well. And actually, from what we've heard behind the scenes, I haven't done my mind in talk, but there were two competing scripts for this movie. Like, there's one version that was going to be all multiverse, a lot of crazy stuff was going on. Different parties really wanted Toby and Andrew in this movie. They wanted like a full redo of all three Spider-Man working together because obviously $2 billion on the table, and in the end, everyone cares about the bottom line. But I think the cooler heads prevail in this instance. That listen, we might end up getting Toby and Andrew in Secret Wars, and they'll hit really good there. I don't think we need another movie just for the three of them to do their thing. Let's let one Spider movie come out where he's just like, saving the world, doing his thing. Not saving New York, saving New York, but having, you can have MCU people like the Hulk might show up, whatever the case might be, but we're still gonna get a Spider-Man movie. So that's kind of my gist of it. But Umar, I want to pass the baton to you. What are you thinking about the suit, about the set photos, the trajectory of MCU Spider-Man going forward?
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys on the suit. I think the suit's probably gonna go down as the best one we've seen in live action. Obviously, there's when he's swinging around and stuff, there's always gonna be some CGI involved. I think that going practical is a good step, considering that honestly, I've never liked the swinging scenes in Tom Holland's movies. Partly because John Watts, I think he just fully relies on CGI, and I don't think he's doing anything practical. I also think that for the previous movies that have come out, um, I think all of Marvel actually looks the same, but then there's like degrees of what looks better, right? So Infinity War looks amazing at times, um, but I feel like it still has the same feel as a lot of the other stuff they've released, even more recently. I think Shang-Chi was such a good, like for the most part visually was really good, so I feel like if they're doing practical and they got the right director on it, I think that's going to be really really positive. I'm curious to see in terms of like the plot, in terms of where they want to take him. If they're not doing the multiverse thing, I want to similar to Samir, I prefer that they don't, and prefer like a friendly neighborhood story, as opposed to him kind of going full multiverse again. I think that would actually take away from the previous iteration. So I'm curious to see. I know that there's I think Punisher's in this one. There's rumors about more villains that are very Spider-Man focused. So I think that's super interesting. I don't know if they're doing like a story with like the MJ arc that they were kind of like. I don't know if they're gonna go back to that or if they're probably gonna just do something new. But I am interested in seeing just Spider-Man, like just the solo Spider-Man movie. I think we need that right now. I actually think with the success of even Superman, like solos, I think should be something that studios kind of look back at and look at kind of going back to, as opposed to always trying to like build something crazy big.
Yeah, and we'll get a ton of multiverse stuff with Spider-Man anyways, the Secret Wars and stuff like that. So it's not like the end of the world if it doesn't happen in this solo movie. But I put this image before while you were talking. But like, if the Spider-Man movie has this kind of an aesthetic, like this is how it's gonna look like, then I think there's a very good chance it's gonna be a good movie. In fact, that this pic, there's Sony is capitalizing on the marketing of this movie. Of course, as you guys know, Disney's not marketing this movie; it's Sony because it's officially a Sony movie. But they've been capitalizing the set photos. They've released an official behind the scenes of like how the shooting has been going so far, which very rarely happens with these kind of movies. And even the behind the scenes footage is color graded properly. And I'm like, wait a minute, you guys are actually taking time to even color grade the behind the scenes stuff. Maybe there's hope yet for the movie, because some of these Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, they forgot to color grade even the final cut. So I'm hoping they can finally color grade it. So I'm hoping for this. So I have, you know, I don't think, yeah, the bar is high with what Spider-Man 2 was with the Tobey series. And honestly, Sony themselves set the bar very high on their animated side of things with what the Spider-Verse movies are doing. So the bar is high for Spider-Man, and I think people don't want like a mediocre film. So let's hope we get that. Either way, so that's covering our Spider-Man stuff. Let's get into a slew of film reviews. We have a bunch we got to cover, so we don't take too long on each one, but we'll still cover them. The biggest one that just came out this weekend, doing great at the box office, doing great with the reviews, great cinema score, and that's the movie called Weapons. It's doing very well. It's actually Warner Brothers is sitting on a very high perch right now because they can say that we've had 6 straight releases with over $40 million openings, which no other studios had. In fact, some of the people have been saying now even hitting 800 million in the box office is considered the new billion. So everything is scaled down now in retrospect. So for a movie like Weapons, if it's going to do what it's doing this weekend, it's doing well with audiences. So the question is, what does the team think of it? So I'll jump to Zion first. What did you think about Weapons?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I came in kind of didn't watch. I think saw just the first trailer, so I came in pretty kind of fresh into it. But it was interesting. It kind of took the horror genre and brought it to like a different place. People say, "Oh, it's almost like Magnolia from Paul Thomas Anderson," where it's like these different stories that all kind of bridge together, and it bounces kind of chapter by chapter to different people, and then it kind of all converges at the end. I think the way they handled that was very well done. I think all the different characters were interesting. You had a lot of different perspectives, and kind of there's like a mystery aspect going on of what happened to these kids that ran away at 2:17 a.m. And then it's like the whole town is trying to figure it out. And you have your whole cast of characters that I think all did a great job performance-wise. I think the ambiance and the tone was actually done very well. There's actually like a balance between the horror suspense element and almost an underlying layer of comedy through kind of even the characters' reactions to some of the crazy things that happen. And I think all that was handled very well. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5. And I think overall it was very strong. I know one of the decisions I made that Pedro Pascal was originally supposed to be in Josh Brolin's role, and because of scheduling or something, he had to come out of it. I think it actually worked out because Josh Brolin was actually a great character in the film, and he provided like an interesting kind of almost funny perspective to things with some of his reactions. Also, kind of just like the concerned dad character, he did a very good job. So I think all of that put together, it was a strong film. I did feel like it dragged a little bit sometimes, but overall, I think once it all wrapped up, it was kind of like a concise story that just came together at the end.
Yeah, Samir, your thoughts? I've been seeing a lot of people online. I haven't tried to see it, but they're comparing me to Long Legs. There's like a tweet that's been pretty semi-viral. I was like, "Oh, Weapons is Long Legs if Long Legs stuck the landing." You know, so I want to know if you guys what do we think about that. You
know? Yeah, I went into this with almost no knowledge about what it was about beyond the basic premise, and knowing that the director also did Barbarian, which I haven't seen. But I also saw the tweets about long legs and comparisons, and watching it, I felt like I get those comparisons not only because of not only because of the narrative having similar beats. I think when I came out of it, I also had a similar feeling to when I came out of Long Legs, where I was kind of unsure about the way that the mystery reveal went in this film, and that really has to do with the third act. But I think the most contentious part of the film was the structure. Like Theon said, it did that Magnolia type shifting perspectives structure which I liked the first maybe four perspectives, and then the last two I feel like because of the reveal it kind of took away from it. And it's risky because when you're doing that type of perspectives you have to like stop and go. So as much as you invest in one perspective, it kind of hits the reset button by the time that one ends. um, but my biggest gripe with the film isn't the structure. I think for the most part it was fine. I'm fine with that structure. I enjoy it for the most part. There's another movie that came out maybe 2 years ago, Monster, that did almost an identical thing, where you could see the stuff happening in the film from a different perspective, but it kind of redoes a lot of the film, which I thought kind of made it labor intensive watching the film. Um, and that was my fault. That was my biggest gripe with the structure. But the biggest thing that I had a problem with was the reveal, which I felt was way too uh, separate from what the mystery was. It took too much of a supernatural um, direction, which Longlegs also did. But I guess because I'm not that big of a fan of horror, I don't like that the reveal was solely based on the supernatural aspect of it. I feel like they were building up some sort of other themes throughout the film that had to do with, like people are talking about online, the school shooting allegory, which, from what I understand, the director said this movie is basically not political at all. It's mostly about grief and reaction to that tragedy, not in a political way, which I don't understand because there's a whole cop perspective, and they kind of start the film off by saying that the cops kind of sweep it under the rug and can't explain what's happening. So I kind of don't understand why he wouldn't want to have invested more in the political aspect of it. Um, and that's kind of why that final two perspectives, when they bring out the main, we're talking spoilers, right? Once they
Yeah, go
start
for it.
focusing on the Gladys character, the movie kind of ends for me, because then it takes away from all the mystery, and it just becomes like a linear horror movie, which I guess is not the worst thing. I like that he balances the tone of it really well with the comedy and the horror. Like I was fine with as comedic as it was. There were a lot of people in the audience reacting to all the horror. I mean, to all the comedy. So I thought that was fine. But for me, when it invested in the when it invested in the mystery aspect for the first half of the film, that's when it shined the brightest. So I feel like it didn't stick the landing as well as Longlegs. I kind of like how Longlegs did a little more, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Long legs had ended negatively, right? Like they couldn't defeat him. Like that was the point, right? Forgot.
And I think they defeated him, but the horror movie
defeated
I thought was always like, yeah, they defeated him.
He was out. He killed himself, right? But he left a doll or whatever
Yeah, so that means
for
like
the
he can't
mother.
really be defeated, right?
Yeah, kind of.
I think that was the difference. I think this was like people were more satisfied with kind of how it ended because like the character you want the bad thing happening to it finally happened to. So it's like okay, the darkness is gone, stuff like that. But in my theater, the one that got the funniest reaction that everyone started dying laughing was during the Josh Brolin character's dream sequence, like when he was dreaming and the jump scare happened, and then he woke up and he's like shouting like "What the f?" Right?
Yeah,
Everybody started laughing in theaters. That was actually funny.
that got the biggest laugh for mine. But the biggest, like, everyone, like, so many people audibly gasped at the scene of the mom walking out of the house and into the teacher's car or whatever to cut her hair. It's like for some reason everyone audibly gasped at that scene, like something was gonna happen, but then like nothing happened really. Um, but the thing about this film is that there's like a lot of need for like the suspension of disbelief, especially at the end, but also like it's an interesting premise, but it kind of has to jump through a lot of hoops to make it work. Like how did the cops, like the teacher, like Josh Brolin and um the teacher, I forget the actress.
Julia Garner.
Julia Garner's character. They solved the mystery in like the most basic, simple way ever. Like the cops couldn't figure that out. To like just look at the direction they're running in the ring footage, and then there's also an earlier scene where Benedict Wong's character, that's the name. He's running. He attacks Julia Garner, and Julia Garner's like, she's never seen that before in her life. It's like you're like the main suspect. Like you've definitely seen that in the ring footage. It's like they kind of have to jump through those hoops to make the suspense work, which I don't know. I don't know about all that.
I think for the cop thing, it does play into kind of the political thing where he's kind of showing all the cops as incompetent. I think that that angle. But like you said, he didn't completely, commit to that either. So it's like kind of you're in the middle space. But as far as like the Gladys reveal, I initially felt the same way that you did. But I think that some of her character, especially when she was like forcing the parents to like stick themselves with a fork, I was like, that kind of brought me in too, because then it's like you kind of recenter the threat that she has over the child. So then those kind of pieces I did like. Other stuff I get that kind of like pulls you out a little bit. You kind of have to like really bring yourself in to kind of invest in that character and how she's able to do things, stuff like that. But it's kind of in the middle ground. You're muted.
Yeah.
Am I muted now?
Yeah, now you're good.
Yeah, I didn't mind that Gladys, the Gladys aspect of it. It's just that, I mean, there's a scene earlier in the movie before the Gladys reveal where she's like teaching, we're in a flashback, she's teaching the students about parasites or whatever. And then they show on screen like the parasite that controls the ant. And it's like, yeah, I get that she kind of represents that in the same way. I just feel like the parts of the themes that were more interesting, like the tragedy, like the response to tragedy or whatever, that aspect of it, I feel like that kind of took a backseat for the parasite kind of Gladys reveal that I didn't value as much. But I also like that by the end they're like, none of the kids will really be the same. Like none of them, only some of them are even talking. So it's like everyone's lives are kind of changed in that way. So I kind of wish they just hammered that all in. It feels like there's a lot of ideas developed here that are trying to be developed, but they just don't get there all the way. Yeah.
It's an interesting time for horror in general. I think it's been between the last 3-4 years, or even 5 years, not 3-4 years. We've been in a horror renaissance. It feels like a lot of like avant-garde horror movies that are like trying to tell different type of story. We're almost like the old school horror, like pure slashers, and are actually flopping at the box office. But these kind of horror movies are doing very well. So interesting to see that dichotomy. So from there, let's move from horror to comedy, because there's another movie called The Naked Gun that just came out a couple of weeks ago. It's doing all right at the box office, serviceable, very well with audiences. People actually loving the movie, finding it very funny. So I'll give my review first for this one and jump right in. So for me, The Naked Gun is like a return to maximalist comedies. I feel like we don't really get those anymore, especially the last 10 to 15 years. But like something that's very unapologetic. Every single line in the script is like made with precision. Whether it lands or not is a different story, but you could tell like there is not one line in this movie that's not meant to be a punchline. Like this is punchline in the movie. There's even pieces of exposition is done in a way that's supposed to be funny, on the nose, very sarcastic, very dry. So if that's your style of humor, I think you're going to come out of this movie laughing a lot. I think it really plays to, I feel like, a slightly older crowd. I think if you're a fan, especially of the original Naked Gun movies with Leslie Nielsen, you're going to like this movie a lot. For me, I got to say it was kind of a mixed bag. I didn't find myself laughing all that much during the movie, to be honest. Maybe because the jokes weren't landing with me, maybe because my humor style is different, but I just wasn't connecting with the movie that way. I do feel like the first act was funny. I think it was a good, strong start. I feel like by the time you get that third act of the movie, it becomes a little slop, and there's a lot of slog going on, and it's just like they're trying to do like a lot of set pieces that ultimately end up becoming like mush in your brain. Like I can't even remember. Like he's riding an owl, and he's like, on the bike, and then all these things happening. I'm like, things are happening. But to be honest, I think Liam Neeson plays a good character. I feel like if there's anyone who could have tried to do a Leslie Nielsen type of role, he's the right guy, because he played such a straight man in all of his action movies, and he's such an action star that him now in his 70s trying to be like, you know what, I'm going to flip the script and go with full comedy, but using his action persona to be kind of this dry humor. Not a different kind of what Keanu Reeves does when he's going to comedy, but So that I think elevates the movie. Unfortunately, I feel like the supporting cast in the movie is not that great. I do think Pamela Anderson's good. Kudos to her. She's been really resurging her career since Showgirls and now. But I just feel like it's all right. Like serviceable. Is it okay to say something's fair to Midland? It's for me, it's 3.5. Sorry, not 3.5. It's 3. It's a 3 out of 5 movie. So that's what I thought about it. It has some funny moments here and there, some interesting set pieces. But they also repeat the same joke like 20 times. So if we got it, but that's my point of view. Either way, The Naked Gun. Zan, I'm gonna pass it to you. What do you think about it?
I wasn't as hard on it, though we did land on the same score. I get why it's a funny movie and why the crowd were in, though it was the premiere crowd and they all worked on it, so of course they're gonna laugh. But everybody was into it, and it is doing well, critically wise. I'm not sure how it's doing box office wise, but clearly not a lot of budget went to this type of movie or comedy movies in general. So even if it makes a certain amount, it'll be a big success. And I think it did some things work kind of funny, maybe it wasn't full on laughing, but I didn't get a chuckle, stupid stuff, like the snowman came alive and they're dancing around. It's just dumb stuff that they'll just do anything in the movie. And I think that kind of spontaneity is what kind of adds into funniness. But I do agree that compared to the original Naked Gun, the reason why that and things like Airplane and anything Leslie Nielsen is part of his funny is because just his deadpan line delivery is what makes something that's so just, he's not saying a joke, but it's funny what he says just because the way he says it is just his matter-of-fact kind of way. That obviously nobody can replicate that. And Liam Neeson is more like you said, almost like the gruff action star veteran guy. He's just in a comedic situation, but you can't replicate what Leslie Nielsen did with just his line delivery, which really what carried the movies. So I like that it was different, but again, you can't reach the highs that he put out. So that was always that's kind of shooting yourself in the foot in one way. But I think for kind of today's comedy, it didn't pull back any punches, and it didn't go into places where it's controversy either. So it found a good middle ground of slapstick and joke funny and line funny and stuff like that. So overall, I thought it was decent, and I understand why people think it's a funny movie. So I did also land on 3 out of 5, but more of a positive skew of 3 out of 5, unlike Shiraz's more negative skew of 3 out of 5.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think the funniest scene in the movie to me was the second act, and when he's walking into the staged murder, and he just keeps making stupid decisions, and that was funny. I was and he picks up a knife, and he's pick it up, and he picks up the bloody knife, and then he just walks, and he's stepping on the blood on purpose, not purpose, he doesn't know, and then he just chops his head off by mistake. It's nothing makes sense, but it's happening, he just jumps out the window after, so that's funny, but the rest was all right. But yeah, The Naked Gun. So from there, I'm going to go to a movie we haven't had a chance to cover. It's actually not even out worldwide yet, so we might keep this at a non-spoiler level. But Ari Aster's movie Eddington came out a couple of weeks ago in America. Ziam got a chance to review that movie, so why don't you jump on board and tell us what you thought about it?
I have not been a big Ari Aster fan, especially after Beau is Afraid. I know you guys love that movie, his favorite movie of all time, but for me, it was the ending was so bad, it brought the whole movie down for me. And everything else was so great about it. So I'm okay, will he repeat the sins of the past or not? Happy to say he did not repeat those. And this movie, though, the highs weren't as good as what Beau is Afraid did have. This was kind of an even grounded, where it was interesting from start to finish. And it was almost like a tale of two movies, where it starts as this small town social commentary political thing, and then it switches into a thriller movie out of nowhere. And then both aspects are engaging and fun and interesting. And you feel compelled to kind of root for Joaquin Phoenix's character as he's going through these different things. He's kind of just putting himself out there, whether it's against Pedro Pascal's character or the stuff he goes through at the end. And there's a lot of shock, and there's a lot of, typical Ari Aster type things in the movie that kind of keep you engaged. And I know, surprisingly, the one show I went to was an afternoon show, and it was relatively full of theater. So, it's glad to see that people were actually going out to see the movie. And everybody was very engaged. To every one of the shocks or the crazy things that happened, people were audibly gasping or viscerally reacting to the movie in a physical way. And it's you like to see it's getting that reactions. And even me, some of the stuff was such shock, like happened out of nowhere. You don't expect it. It's like, wow, okay, he did go this direction. And I thought overall it was a solid movie. I did enjoy it very much. Initially, it was kind of between a 4 and a 4.5 for me. I did end up landing at a 4. I think 4 is a fair score for it, but it is currently in my top 5 of 2025. So I did enjoy the movie very much. And I guess Ari Aster's off fraud watch now because he redeemed himself after Beau Was Afraid, in my opinion. And of course, Joaquin Phoenix, I'm a huge fan of his. So it was great to see him in this film, and he did a great job here too.
Cool, and we'll probably get more thoughts as more of us get a chance to watch it. I haven't had a chance to see it. I think it's not even out in Canada yet, so yeah. All right, so let's talk about another movie just came out, and that's Sorry Baby. I'm hearing some lot of positive things about this movie from fellow critics, and even maybe I'm not going to spoil it, but I've seen your letterbox as well. So, what did you guys? I'll go to Samir on this one first. Samir, what did you think about Sorry Baby?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well made. I think one of the main things that's talked about about almost every movie this year has been like the tone aspect of it, and I feel like this movie balances tone the best of any movie I've seen so far this year. How it can do sadness and comedy and drama all really well together, especially since right after I saw this, like a day or two after I saw Materialist, and it was like trying to do the tone the same way, but it was doing it way worse than this. So I had to raise the score of this movie a little more. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I knew nothing about what it was about going in, but I kind of pieced it together, and I think Eva Victor is really the star of it. She wrote and directed and starred in it as her debut film, and I feel like she did an incredible job at all three of those things. It's just very sincere and very somber, and I think it's like in my top 2 movies right now this year. So really good.
John, what about you? What do you think about Sorry Baby?
Yeah, I agree. I think Eva Victor, she really kind of just carried this production. And even her acting performance, I think it was very well done. I think the writing was the right level of subtlety and emotion and kind of showcasing, kind of the thing that happened and how she deals with the trauma afterwards. And then the film, like Samir said, has a good balance of like comedic levity in the face of kind of like the traumatic events that she goes through. And then through the film, it has like an interesting narrative structure where it does jump around from like time period to time period in a chapter sense, whereas like jumps back and forth and you get more pieces and more context to her character and kind of the things she went through. And I think overall it was solid film. And I think everything about it, I think it was shot very well. The score did a great job kind of providing that underlayer of emotion and tone with like the pianos, like almost like a melancholic type feel to the movie that you always felt like, okay, there is sadness in the movie prevalent throughout, even in the comedy scenes where it always kind of held you down, like leveled onto the ground. And I like that a lot about the movie as well. And I think overall production, writing, everything was very well done. It's a very film festival coded type movie. Like after the credits start rolling, I'm like, yeah, this is a movie I'd expect to see in a film festival, for good or bad. And I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5. But I think overall it's a very strong movie. Yeah.
I'm hearing some good things about it from everybody, and good to see that you guys are both liking as well. This is a movie I'm catching so at some point soon. Cool. So there's one more movie to review, and this is a movie that I've seen myself, and it's the movie Fixed. It's the new Netflix movie that's coming out. Actually, it's coming out this week. So I want to preface my comments first by first giving some flowers out, because the guy who directed this movie is Genndy Tartakovsky, and if you guys know Genndy, he is pretty much an animation legend in the last like century even. I mean, credits like Samurai Jack, Dexter's Laboratory, Primal, if you guys have seen that. He's done a lot for the industry and a lot for art in my childhood for sure. So if he's making a movie, I'll always give him benefit of the doubt to see it. That being said, some things don't work for everyone, and he had a quick Q&A at the Netflix showing that I was at, and he kind of said, this is not everyone's cup of tea, and it'll have some reactions the way. So, and I like the Netflix team. I appreciate them for inviting me. It was all good stuff. But I gotta say that this movie, yeah, it's the worst movie of the year for me right now, I think, and it's not close. So let's break it down. Pretty interesting cast overall. But this movie, and I'll put a picture on the screen right now, is like a mix of. It's like a mix of Sausage Party. So if you like that movie, you're gonna like this one. Big Mouth, if you understand, if you know that show from I think it was on Netflix, and times both those by like 100 or something, and that's what this is. So the movie's about a dog who's about to get castrated, and he wants to have like a his one last adventure before it all kind of goes a different direction. So in this adventure, a lot of things happen. So and at least there's a certain type of humor. So yes, it's a cartoon. It's a hard R. This is not a family movie. I wouldn't take the kids to it. Extremely hard R. Every single joke is extremely raunchy, extremely vivid. It's all kind of left out there. And I gotta say, it wasn't for me. So didn't like it. I'm gonna have to give a very rare. I'm gonna have to give a rare like 1 out of 5 star to the film. Look, I'm sure some great people animated it. They put some time into it. Some of the animation isn't that bad actually, but it's just not for me. This kind of humor is not my kind of humor, and this kind of animation style is also not my kind of animation style. So I will just say that I don't recommend this movie, unfortunately. Though, if Gendy Tartakovsky makes anything else, he did say in his Q&A that he has a much darker, crazy idea, almost in the vein of Samurai Jack, that he's playing with. And if this movie did well, he would make that movie. And in my head, I was like, why did you just make that movie? Just make that movie. But it's okay. He did something cool. He said he wanted to make a kind of like a summer comedy movie, and he did his thing. Not for me, and I can't recommend it. But that's my quick review of Fix the movie. Yeah. That's my.
So you say it was the worst movie this year, but your real reaction was that it's the worst movie of all time.
Right. So, if I started ranking them in a reverse order, I feel like Fix would be on the near bottom. Unfortunately, again, if I'll say it this way, Sausage Party would also be on my bottom tier. I'm not a TV reviewer, but if I was reviewing Big Mouth, it would also be in my bottom tier. It's not my type of humor. It's just not, and this is too egregious for me to even watch it. So yeah. Right now, it was a movie I didn't like. So worst movie of the year. I don't like giving bad reviews like that all the time, but had to be honest. So there's that. I guess there's one more review we can throw in there as well, because since this movie was a little freaky, we'll have to go with a different movie, and it's called Freaky Tales that Samir saw. So Samir, what did you think about Freaky Tales?
I really like Freaky Tales. I didn't even know it was a movie till pretty recently. But it's another Pedro Pascal movie from this year. It's like a punk anthology movie, very stylized. I mean, there's a really big conversation about style over substance around this movie, because it pays homage to a lot of very culturally significant and well-known films and styles. I really enjoyed this film. I enjoyed the anthology structure. It kind of reminded me of Weapons. I mean, Weapons kind of reminded me of Freaky Tales, because it did a similar thing where it goes through different perspectives and they kind of overlap stories, which I really enjoyed. And one of the main characters is Sleepy Floyd, the basketball player. He's like fictional. He's going on like a fictional adventure where he becomes Kill Bill or something, which I thought was really interesting. But I definitely recommend this movie because it's in my top 3 right now for movies this year.
This whole Sleepy Floyd thing, now I'm kind of interested. Like you kind of sold me on this movie suddenly. I'm like, I don't know.
And the real Sleepy Floyd is also in the movie. It's like a cameo.
All right, so there's something here. There's something here. I might check this out. All right, so there's one more topic. I don't know if you guys even have this prepped, but it's always our what to watch, the Freako's recommendation. Again, it doesn't have to be a movie. It could be a TV show. It could be an anime. It could be a book. It could be anything. A video game. Just recommend what you got to recommend. The question is, does anyone have a recommendation for this?
I'm recommending Freaky Tales. That's my recommendation.
All right, so recommend Freaky Tales.
It's flying under the radar too much. Like, I didn't even know it was a movie, but it's so good.
Zion, do you have anything you can recommend?
Let's see.
You know what? I'll say one more thing about Freaky Tales while this guy is thinking. The second part of the anthology, that is kind of the worst part of the movie. Fair warning, There's like a rap battle that goes on. It's kind of cringe. I mean, a lot of the movie's pretty corny, but I think that part kind of didn't work all that much for me. But I like how stylized it is. So
Sure. So maybe I'll go next to my I'll go with the recommendation. And it's going to be different because sometimes movies come out. I was talking about Fix and I remembered something. I was like, sometimes a rare movie comes out that is so bad that everyone is enamored by it. And this time, the what to watch also applies to myself because the movie I'm recommending is the new War of the Worlds movie. Because all we've been seeing this last week, I've been seeing it on my timeline, and maybe you guys have too, is clip after clip, GIF after GIF, reaction video after reaction video of Ice Cube sitting in front of a laptop and the most craziest things happening on the other side. And somehow this movie is called War of the Worlds, an iconic name of an iconic franchise. So I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm recommending it to myself. I feel like sometimes a movie is so bad, you have to see what's up with it. Like, what is going on? What's the context? Why is he making those reactions? How come when his son died, he just was kind of blank-faced about it? I want to know. And in fact, there's one thread where they keep reusing the same reaction. Like, they didn't have it all done. And I'm telling you, none of these clips are making me disinterested. It's making me more interested. So because of that, I will be recommending it because you know what? Sometimes it's a party and we're all being on it. And like, what's going on? What's this movie all about? So I recommend War of the Worlds. It's a very COVID movie, I feel like.
You're literally letting the big corporations win by recommending this bad movie, and then watch numbers will go up, and it'll validate their poor productions.
I think they know it's a meme, though. It's like they know it's bad. Like, straight to Amazon Video, signing a theatrical release. Just watch it. So I know Samir's already seen it. Maybe he's planning to very soon, but
I'll be there.
See, he'll be there, and I'll be there too. Actually, I was actually watching it last night. Decided not to, but I will win. I will watch it some point.
So if it's under like 105 minutes, I'll be there.
It's only 90 minutes. It's quick. It's quick, And we get to, I don't want to spoil it, but I saw some of the ending videos and it looks funny. So I want to see how it all got there. So
all the ends in Ice Cube and the whole world dying.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that'll save the movie.
All I want to say is the ending ends on a major death sequence that also has a huge joke in it, and that joke is like, why would you put that joke in that moment? But they're doing it, so I want to see what that's all about. And I know Zion does too. So, what is your recommendation? And is it also War of the Worlds?
It's not War of the Worlds, and it never will be. Okay. But I will recommend The Northman. Robert Eggers finally got to see it, and it was as good as everybody's been saying. It was like a mix between Lion King, Hamlet, basically, and Midsummer vibes with like the Nordic stuff and kind of like the cult stuff. And it kind of blended that together. Some of it was a little slow. It started a little slow, but when it kind of kicked into gear, then it was very interesting. And kind of the resolution and kind of the revenge story that he went on, the main character. It was very interesting to see him carry it out and kind of like the twists and thrills in between and the reveals at the end. So I enjoyed the movie a lot. It is a little long. I think it's like around 2.5 hours or near that, 2 hours 20. But I think overall it's a very strong film. I'll give it 4.5.
There you go. Well, what do you guys think about the new Spider-Man set photos? What do you think about all the movies we reviewed? We reviewed tons of Weapons, Naked Gun, Eddington, Sorry Baby, Fixed, Freaky Tales, and maybe we talk about War of the Worlds. I don't even know. But let us know what you think. Definitely join the debate. From myself, from Zayan, from Samir, and from Umar, who's in our first A block. We'll see you next time. Peace out.